To order the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education regular public meeting for October 20th, 2016. Mrs. Saradaki, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Brody?
Here.
Dr. Clancy?
Here.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mrs. Shermer?
Here.
Mrs. Williams? Mrs. Winkler?
Here.
Mrs. Cleary?
Here.
Mrs. Bauer?
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Please join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The board just met in executive session and discussed personnel and HIB. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Borough Clerk of Fanwood and the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains and to the Westfield Leader and to the Patch. So we do have additions to the agenda. We have one LET that's an addition to the agenda, 1S and 2S from the superintendent's report, and 1 BUS, 11 BUS, and 14 BUS. Is that right? Okay. So in accordance with Scotch Plains Public School Bylaws 0164 and 0165, this is an opportunity for anyone from the public to come to the microphone. Just state your name and the town in which you reside. Seeing no one, we're going to move on to committee reports, and I wondered if we might start with finance. I know you have a report and a guest.
Yes. We met, the Finance Committee met this evening with Catherine Mantell from the NIZACO sorry, from the certified public accounting firm that does our audit. You can pronounce it, and it was an excellent report, and she is going to share it with everyone now. And if anyone has further questions for either Catherine or for those of us on the committee later, that's fine too. But Catherine?
Good evening, and thank you so much for...
Is that on because we are filming?
Your light is on.
Oh, there.
So I'm not speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to serve the Scotch Plains Fanwood School District. It is an absolute pleasure. And in the meeting with the Finance Committee, I explained that the finances of Scotch Plains are in very good order, and I find it very uplifting to see that not just one stone is turned, but all of them. And so I have a lot of good things to report this evening. You don't have your audits yet because we had them in process, and Debbie and I were working to see if we could get the books bound before this evening, but my staff will be binding them tomorrow morning. We figured we were that far, we would wait until the board meeting to see if anybody had any comments that would change the report, but we expect that it will be bound tomorrow. The fund balance in the school district is down slightly. It's $1.2 million, but as we explained to finance, that most of that money, the decrease comes from having less purchase orders open at the end of this year versus last year, and also there were monies that were withdrawn from the capital reserve account during the year for various projects. But the offset to that is that you were able to restore those during the year. So last year, where you had $8.7 million of capital reserve, you have 8.5 now. And I think that's very important for a school district because you no longer have the ability to go outside of the 2% cap in order to do your capital needs. So that is a very strong point in Scotch Plains Fanwood. Also, you're able to maintain the $1 million that you always put in the budget to offset taxes or however you perceive that to be. But $1 million of fund balance is used annually in the budget to offset expenditures. In addition to that, you have 7 active capital projects that are ongoing. And that's for various additions, alarms, window replacement projects that were authorized. And last year was the first year, not last year, but the year before, 2015 was the first year that you reported a net pension liability for PERS, which is the Public Employees Retirement System. And so this year was the second year, and I got to see a little bit of what our staff does with the information that they receive from the state of New Jersey, and I got to tell you, it is mind-boggling. But I'd like to let the board know that that number in this district was calculated as 27 million this year. And just to explain the perspective is that, the underfunding problems that are out there in the world just happen to coincide with the Accounting Standard Board saying that these liabilities should be recognized and reported. It's really a liability that represents the payments that would be made to all the people who are employed by the Scotch Plains District currently from the point where they retire to their expected life expectancy. And so it's a huge number because it's for a long time. And so I didn't want you to be alarmed by that, but also be aware of it. Last year was the first year, and it was a little over, it was like 21.5 million, and it's up to 27 million. What it really means, kind of take that in stride. In addition to that, the food service fund in the school district is operating very well. Revenues were up slightly, subsidies were up slightly, and expenses were actually down. So food service is operating very well. And for the first year that I have headed the audit in Scotch Plains, I can say there are no audit recommendations this year. We do cover quite a bit of things. There are a lot of state regulations in addition to normal auditing procedures. The district receives over $750,000 of federal grant awards and state grant awards, and those have compliance audits that are required. That's all included in here. And last year you had one audit comment. I'm sure over the course of time you've had one or two here and there, and this year there are none. And I think that speaks wonderfully for the board and administration that when there is something that needs to be addressed, it's always addressed. And I think one of the last pieces of information that we got for the audit, which just a day or two ago, was that monitoring that occurs on your NCLB and your IDEA grants. And so they came in over a year ago, we filed a corrective action plan, it was accepted, been fully implemented, and so, again, another testament to how you take care of matters in Scotch Plains. A cautionary statement that we made in our management report was that cybersecurity is huge in the world, and so we put that in the management report just to make sure that the board is constantly aware of that and is taking measures to make sure that the district's computerized systems and internet and everything are as secure as they can be. And then we just have last year and this year reminding you that last year we implemented a standard regarding pension, and for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 18, we will be implementing one for post-retirement medical benefits that are provided to retirees. And that's it.
Okay, are there questions for Mrs. Mantell from anyone?
I just wanted to add, for the sake of the public, that your staff comes and is here for several weeks, for many weeks?
Right.
Couple,
3 weeks.
3 weeks, going through all the paperwork that Mrs. Saradaki and her staff get ready for you. So
Absolutely.
it's, just so they know, it's a really comprehensive
It is.
process, and every line is looked at.
Yep. And can't even speak to the measure of cooperation that we receive. So, very, very fortunate for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report, but very, very special thanks to our business manager. I think that's absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Really, our hats off to you. so the public
A lot
can...
of people in the department that
Yes.
work hard.
And our thanks to all of them. And I think for the public to know and be confident to have that kind of an audit report is wonderful, so.
And the auditors do get to meet directly with the board without any members of our staff present. So we really do appreciate your report. And again, kudos to our business department because they've worked very, very hard to make sure that we're in the place we are.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there anything else from the Finance Committee from this evening? Okay, any other committee reports? No, we have curriculum?
Do a curriculum report.
Okay.
Okay. The Curriculum Committee met on October 17th, and we were provided with an update on the district mentoring program by two teachers, Peggy Brown and Dorothy Lusk, and the Building Teacher Leader Capacity Grant from Noelle Baxter. We also had a park assessment update, but I'm going to defer that because Dr. Mast will be presenting that in a short while. Regarding the district mentoring update, both Ms. Brown and Ms. Lusk shared with the committee the update regarding the initial mentor training and follow-up support, the new teacher induction through orientation and roundtable discussions, and the Building Teacher Leadership Capacity Grant with Kane University in Plainfield. Ms. Lusk and Ms. Brown discussed their experiences with the evolving district mentoring program, which is aligned with the Department of Education's Teach New Jersey initiative. Teachers are being trained to be good mentors for incoming teachers in the district. Training is provided to those mentoring teachers so that they are equipped in this role. Mentoring builds support for incoming teachers as they adjust both to the profession and to the district's environment. It also broadens the professional development of the experienced teachers, and they spoke highly of that experience personally. This professional support provides a valuable framework to strengthen professional practice, which then drives student success. It's very important, and we're very proud that we've been expanding this in the district. Both teachers spoke of the benefits of participating in the mentoring program and the value it had in invigorating their own craft and the benefits of encouraging open discussions and guidance for new teachers and all teachers, really. Strong mentorship supports the teachers both in and out of the classroom, and this makes our district particularly attractive for new teachers in hiring. Moving on to the Building Teacher Leadership Capacity Grant, Noelle Baxter provided us with a discussion of the summary outcomes for year one. The clear benefits are the professional development modules and the growth of the teacher-presented professional development modules and mentoring. Year two participants have now been selected and will expand this program from the elementary schools into the middle schools. The kickoff on the first training will be October 26th. This grant has provided powerful peer-to-peer contact for learning opportunities, the opportunity to turnkey it and expand it to more staff in the district, as well as the opportunity to work with grant partners on shared areas of interest. This cost-effective approach to professional development has become teacher-led, which they are very, very proud of, with teachers both suggesting topics and offering their time and talents to their colleagues. So we've seen tremendous benefit for professional development, but of course it also applies to how well they feel supported and the opportunities that they can give to their students in turn. And then, of course, Dr. Mast will be presenting on park assessment. So.
Okay, and Dr. Mast, I think you're going to be using the... Oh? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Facilities, Mr. Murray.
Yes. A couple of updates. The first is Park Middle School parking lot project. So most importantly, the drainage is the first item that's going to be tackled in that project to give relief to the residents that were getting flooding. And that is expected to start today, potentially, or this week.
It's been changed to next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, and estimated completion time is about a week and a half. or so. And fencing's starting to be put up for that project. So that seems to be moving along. On the School One front, the sign for School One is in need of replacement, so the PTA is looking to pay and purchase a new sign. But in order to do that, with the new age of digital signs, we need to get approval from the planning board to do that. So that'll be the next step in that project. Comprehensive maintenance plan is in need to be submitted to the Executive County Superintendent's Office, and it is in line and consistent with prior year submissions of approximately $2 million. And then some additional items to add for the budgeting for 2017, 2018 on the facilities side are some roofing projects at both the high school and Brunner. And that concludes the facilities report.
Thank you very much. Are there any other reports? Okay, Dr. Hayes, do you want to introduce our...
I'd love to. We have Dr. Mass with us tonight. She's always here, but tonight she's presenting. And she is going to be introducing two of our key supervisors, so I won't take any of her thunder away.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes.
And tonight is our annual report of our district assessment that we have had our students participate in through the PARC assessments. So we need to allow them to have access to the screen. So we'll move. Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to take a look at our PARC results for year 2. And with me is John Benninger, the district supervisor for mathematics, and Liz McKenna, the district language arts supervisor. So as we know, in 2016, it was our second year for the PARC results. In 2015, it replaced the HESPA and previous assessments in the elementary and middle school in language arts and mathematics. So we had students taking the PARC English language arts and literacy assessment in grades 3 through 11. And students also took the mathematics assessment in grades 3 through 8 and end of course assessments in Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And actually, in grade 8, our students take the Algebra 1 assessment. We know that the assessment comes from the elementary, secondary, help me out, Dr. Hayes, Yep, the ESSA is the Education Secondary Elementary Act. Yep, and it was first the No Child Left Behind, which had all of the testing come into our lives for the past 10 years or so. And then there was a waiver where some of the cut scores were changed, and that was the RTTT, and now we have the Every Student Succeed Act. When the transformation was happening, we weren't quite sure what the ESSA would bring, but it continued to bring the annual testing. So what continues to be true is, as we look at our results, there are no surprises. We still outperform the state by a very strong margin. We no longer get the DFG results easily accessible to us, though over time we can look through state documents. We'll be able to mine that information out. But in the past, when the state would give us our results in the time of the New Jersey Ask and HESPA, it came with the reports. We still have some students who opt out, and that becomes a variable for us to consider at different grade levels, who's taking the test. A tool comes with the analysis, which is called the district evidence statement, and Mr. Veninger and Ms. McKenna will speak to how that helps them zoom in on certain areas that we need to take a closer look. So in the language arts, they have subclaims, which are similar to what was once called cluster scores. In language arts, those subclaims are literacy, information, vocabulary, and in writing, expression, and convention. And in math, the pieces are major content supporting content reasoning modeling, formally organized by geometry, number, and operations, algebra, and data. The proficiency levels that students can fall into is 1 of 5. 2 of them are considered passing, so met expectations and exceeds expectations. Those students go into the category of passing the test. The longitudinal ranges, since it's only 2 years, when you have only 2 points, it doesn't really give you predictive data, because when you have 2 points, it will make a line. So therefore, we really, before we could have trend data, we need an additional point, though we certainly took a look at where we went up and where we stayed stable from last year. None of the data is predictive from the previous tests that we gave regarding the New Jersey Ask for HESPA. So we have this chart to look at regarding the math, where it says the states, those are the states that are still participating in the PARCC assessments. Then we have New Jersey, and ourselves are in the 3rd column for SPF. In the column over to the right, we can take a look at how many points in percentage passing we exceeded the state level. And in all cases, they're well into the double digits. In grade 7 by the highest amount of 30 points. So we felt very pleased with that type of buffer between our results and the state. Similarly, when we look at the English language arts results, again, we have double-digit leads with the state, and in some cases, those leads are quite large. So how will the data be used? One thing that we've always made note of in this district is that a standardized test is just one particular data point, and certainly it gives us leads to take closer looks at our curriculum or individual students. We know that a standardized test is just a result on one given day, and it doesn't tell the whole story for any child. But we also use the data to the best advantage to take a deeper dive into our curriculum or to help individual students. So I am going to turn it to Mr. Veninger to talk about his analysis regarding the mathematics.
Good evening. How are you? So at the elementary level, we are very pleased with the results. Actually, across the whole district, we're pleased but never satisfied. So fortunately for us, we receive what Dr. Mast alluded to, which is called the evidence statement analysis for our district. And what that does is it creates a continuum of the problems that were on PARCC from most difficult to simplest, and it gives us our results in comparison to the state. So we can look at every single item and figure out what it was testing and measure where we are with relationship to the state. As would be expected from most of us in grade 5, being that it's heavy fractions, that is one of the areas that we would like to see a little bit more growth, because we're doing quite well in grades 3 and 4, but when they start to be tested highly in fractions, we see a little bit of a dip relative to the other two grades, while we were still up. We're happy about that, but as I said, we're always looking for ways to improve. In the middle school, happy to report that our middle schoolers do quite well with our Algebra 1 test. It is a difficult test. I think the level of abstraction creates a challenge for a lot of students who, with their maturity levels, aren't quite there. But overall, when you look at our, again, evidence statement analysis, we have some room to grow. We're going to take a look at 3 major points, which I'll report on probably at a later date when I have looked at the individual student data. Because what we did note was that there are quite a few students who are within 5 points of that passing level. So there must be also a component of test-taking strategy that we have to take a look at as well. But overall, very happy with those results. And of course, the high school, we would love to see more participation. We do see a drop in the participation for Algebra 2 because there are other ways for students to meet their graduation requirement. But as more students take that test, we'd like to see that, that percentage grow as well. But overall, very satisfied, and we'll continue to look at individual student data as well as those evidence statement analysis reports. Are there any questions? Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to introduce Liz to you. Liz McKenna.
Lower the microphone quite a bit. So as Dr. Mast alluded to, we were overall very pleased with our results this year. We did see tremendous growth in many areas, a couple that we were particularly proud of because we knew that they were things that we as a district had been working on. In particular, we noticed in the elementary schools, students were really successful when it came to reading informational texts in the content areas, so particularly in social studies and science. And in the last few years, we've really worked to add guided reading texts for those 2 subject areas in the elementary school, and we're glad to see that students are gaining those strategies to read those. In the secondary level, our writing skills were off the charts. It seems that our writing workshop program really is taking off and really is making students better writers, both in terms of writing on tests and, as we know, writing in the real world. So we were really, really pleased about that. We did notice 2 areas where we can continue to improve. The first was in vocabulary. Students seem to be struggling with vocabulary in context questions. So we're planning to take a closer look at our word study program to see, are there places where we can increase the connection to vocabulary in context as opposed to in isolation? And then the second place that we think students can continue to grow is in their reading of nonfiction that they have not seen yet. So they're really succeeding when they have that background to the nonfiction, but they're not as successful when it comes to nonfiction that they have no prior knowledge for. So thinking about where in our curriculum we already do that, where we can take a look at areas for including more of that. But overall, we were really, really pleased with our results this year. As both John and Dr. Mast mentioned, I think that we continue to outpace the state, often by nearly 40 percentage points. So we're definitely on the right track.
So, questions for Dr. Mast, Mr. Vinegar, or Ms. McKenna? Yes. Okay, Ms. Sherman?
I'd like to know, what is the percentage of students that opt out of taking the testing?
It varies by grade level, but I believe the highest percentage is in the 11th grade. And the reason that would be true is because they have other tests that they're taking. For example, many of the AP students would opt out because they're preparing for the AP test.
And they can opt out because?
They can opt out because they don't need it as a high school graduation requirement.
Mrs. Dr. Clancy? Oh, Ms. Brody.
actually the same question.
Oh, it's the same question.
thing I was going to ask. Is it the same percentage for the language arts that opt out as well, or can you opt out of math and not opt out of the English?
Yes.
Okay.
So some students made different choices, but often when a student opted out of one,
They opt out of the other.
Okay, other questions?
Great job. I mean, so
yeah, they're really
impressed.
quite impressive.
Great job.
If I may?
Yes.
I
Mrs.
would
Cleary?
just, I have the privilege and benefit of meeting with the content supervisors regularly through the curriculum committee, and I often hear of the work that is occurring when any issues come up with student achievement. And I have to say thank you to both of you, as well as the staff that you work with, because really, very similar to our audit of earlier this evening, no stone is really left unturned. And the time that's spent very thoughtfully on the data, not in terms of chasing numbers for tests, but for student achievement. And the focus has never, swayed from that. So I just really thank you for the focus, really on making success possible for all students, raising all boats, and for the thoughtful presentations that you give to the curriculum committee and the time you take to come out to the full board. So thank you very much.
And I do have another comment that I think it's quite impressive that the numbers are so impressive that you even are trying to improve them by parsing through all that data and figuring out the little things that they can improve, and that's really commendable. So thank you.
I think the attention to detail that was evident in the report tonight is really important, that the board members were commenting on. And I think it also speaks to the scores, speak to the fact that we as a community, I think, have been committed to multiple measures of success, and that it's not just about the test scores, but it shows that leads to positive test scores, so that the student engagement and, other things that we consider important, things that are reflected in our strategic plan, are really also then later reflected in the performance of our students on this snapshot, as you said, in time. So please thank everyone, because I know everyone's digging into all those evidence statements and all the analyses and everything in each building. So thank you very much for everyone's hard work. We appreciate it. Dr. Hayes?
Just real quick, is there any discussion around the utilization of the test scores for the Quest process as well? So is that
Yes.
going to be incorporated into that selection process?
We do look at those this year as part of the process for Quest.
I think I'd also like to note that it's noteworthy that New Jersey outperformed the other states in the consortium in PARC as well. So when we outperform the state average, and in turn that state average outperforms some of the other states that are part of PARC, those scores are then in line with what we've seen about how our students perform when just a sample of our students take the National Assessment of Educational Progress. So overall, there's a lot to celebrate. I also am so pleased that Mr. Veninger and Ms. McKenna are here tonight, because it gives you a sense of how they drill down into the data. But I'd also, in addition to thanking Dr. Mast, want to extend my thanks to the other supervisors, because some of the areas in PARC transcend into other content areas. So the support that's been given through social studies, for example, ensuring that when students do work in those content areas, the reading skills and the writing skills are also emphasized. Because we know at the end of the day that it is much more than just learning for a test. It's really learning how to perform all of those skills that ultimately become life skills. Our math program, for example, is very strong in terms of helping children connect to real-world applications, and the language arts speaks for itself in terms of how children are able to express themselves So my thanks to all of you, to Dr. Mast for her leadership in terms of the curriculum. And I think that, we continue to strive for ways to improve. But the good news is that despite all of the concerns about Park, our students are still achieving quite well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
While we're still on the instructional update, we do need to go back and move for approval of the audit report. Does somebody want to make a motion? So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Dr. Hayes, that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So you noted on the addition to the agenda that we do have an out-of-district placement to approve this evening. So I would ask that the board approve the out-of-district placement that is on the addition to the agenda. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. 2S, I would ask that the board approve the addition to the agenda item for the field trip. Our financial literacy students are looking to attend a field trip to Philadelphia where they will be visiting the Philadelphia Mint as well as historic sites in Philadelphia. So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. They thank you as well. 3S, there is nothing that needs to be approved tonight coming out of the curriculum committee meeting, but I would note that the district mentoring plan, which was reviewed at the district curriculum committee meeting, is on the agenda for approval under business items, and the reason it's there is because of the dollar amounts related to the mentoring plan. So on 4S tonight, I would ask that the board acknowledge receipt of our October 15th enrollment numbers. We now have the official numbers for October 2016. We have a total of 5,577 students in our district, which translates to an increase of approximately 30 students over last year at this time, and 13 students compared to last year at this time. So our enrollment is very steady. We're not seeing any huge fluctuations, so I would ask that the board simply acknowledge the receipt of those statistics tonight. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. At our last meeting, the board approved our school nursing plan for 2016-17, so my thanks to Mrs. Rubimbus and her staff for the work in putting that together. And tonight, 6S, I would ask that the board approve submission of the New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum Statement of Assurance for the school year 2016-17. It's a roll call vote. This is what we do annually when we are not in full CUSAC review. And so tonight, I'm happy to report that we are in compliance with all of the indicators for CUSAC, and I would ask that the board approve submission of that statement of assurance.
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Saradaki, you want to call the roll?
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes.
That was my thing.
Mrs. Shermer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams? Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes. So I do just want to mention that it is a compliment to the district that we're able to submit this statement and not have a full review. So we're very appreciative of the hard work that made that possible.
It takes a village, and a lot of people work on that. Thank you. So tonight, and I'm choosing to have some copies of this distributed to the people in the audience rather than move everybody again. They will be posted on the website, so for the public, you'll get to see these. Tonight, I am proud to present to you the goals that the district is going to engage in relative to the third year of our strategic plan. So the first area is under our anchor goal, which we work on to continue to have high student performance academically. And related to that, each each teacher creates objectives. The first objectives are done on a school basis to ensure that we continue to improve our students' work related to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. And the second one under that category is all of our teachers worked very, very hard on developing what are known as student growth objectives. Each teacher in the district creates two in collaboration with the supervisors and their principal. And in fact, on our last professional development day, they celebrated the fact that they had the time to come together as grade levels to look at the data that drove their student growth objectives. And they were very appreciative of the time and the thoughtfulness that the district is giving to that process. And then we have the goals that are specifically related to our strategic plan that we crafted 3 years ago, this being the third year of that process. So under Goal 1, which was for technology, learning, management, and communication, these are the things that we plan to do this year. We are going to increase access to technology for content area classes. These would be classes such as science, social studies, our ESL, and our kindergarten students. We are proposing to provide professional development, particularly for our high school teachers, related to components of digital citizenship. This simultaneously serves as a goal for the high school's middle states assessment. We are holding after-school professional development workshops on Google Apps for Education. Dr. Mast and her professional development committee, that has a lot of teachers and supervisors participating in it, have done an amazing job of providing our teachers with opportunities to continue their growth through after-school workshops, and we're very proud of the subscription that we've had to those workshops. Then we will be implementing a day of code as part of the Computer Science Week in our math exploration classes. And we will be training all of our certified staff on the new My Learning Plan teacher evaluation platform. Some of you will recall that when the state required us to use Achieve NJ as the new platform for teacher evaluation, we have continued to use the Danielson model, but the platform that rests on has migrated from Teachscape to Division of Frontline. And so it required us to train our staff on how to use the computer portal relative to that evaluation platform. So that's what the My Learning Plan is, and the teachers are involved with learning that, as are our principals and supervisors. And finally, we are going to ensure the streamlining of PowerSchool and IEP New Jersey, which is our process for keeping track of our students' IEPs. This was formerly IEP Direct. The good news is now that works with PowerSchool, and our special ed staff in particular and the teachers are celebrating the fact that they have better access to the IEPs, and that process has been very much improved. Mrs. Rubimbus is nodding her head over there. So that will be Goal 1, which helps us to continue to use technology both for learning, to communicate better with our constituents, and for management. Goal 2 is to continue to provide a safe and secure learning environment for our students. Mrs. Saradaki gets huge kudos in this area. We are going to continue to develop plans to expand our parking facilities, Park Middle School being one in particular where we needed to do that. That process is in place. We are completing the room numbering projects throughout the district, which supports school security protocols. And we are also moving forward with the installation of staff sign-in and sign-out applications through Veritime. This is helpful because then we know who's in our building at any given time. And should an emergency arise, we know how to account for everybody. We're going to complete the second phase of the door replacements at McGinn, Coles, Park Middle School, Terrell Middle School, and the high school. And we are also investigating the needs for additional storage space, particularly for the high school music department, and we're working with them and the Music Boosters. They do a lot of work every year in terms of the development of props and various equipment for rep theater and the high school marching band, and it would be helpful if they have some storage so that they don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel every year. In our early childhood initiatives, we will be expanding the professional capacity of our preschool staff in best practices for improving the classroom environment for young children and for children with disabilities. And as you know, we have moved forward with the implementation of full-day kindergarten. We will be continuing to evaluate our full-day kindergarten initiative as we move throughout the year. We are expanding the professional capacity of the kindergarten staff, the best practices in early childhood, and we are increasing opportunities for the articulation between the preschool and the kindergarten teachers. We will also be using data to support learning in those programs. Some of you are aware of the fact that we are complementing our kindergarten program and our pre-K programs with Teaching Strategies Gold. The other program that's noteworthy is the Rethink program, which helps to support the implementation of special strategies for students with special needs. And lastly, we'll be providing parent workshops for students in grades 1 through 3 to assist them in supporting their children's learning. Goal 4 focuses on providing authentic learning experiences for students. Our focus will be on increasing problem-based, self-directed learning to help develop students' critical thinking abilities and problem-solving skills. Specifically, there'll be more problem-based learning in science for students in K-8. Math Explorations is revising some of its units of study. The Tech Ed is similarly revising some units of study. We are continuing the implementation of service learning and our Global Citizen Project implementation. We will be also using community resources to provide students with authentic experiences through career days, author visits, and through our work with the Municipal Alliance Committee. And lastly, we will be exploring the integration of arts across core content areas by incorporating art into the I² after-school program at Park and creating interdisciplinary projects and using the art store for classroom instruction. This is a compendium of art resources that are online that our teachers are very much looking forward to using. And finally, in terms of Goal 5, exploring partnerships with colleges, businesses, and government, we are working with representatives from the National Institute for Early Education Research, NEAR, as well as the New Jersey Department of Education, both to provide professional development for our early childhood teachers and also to look at how our programs are working. We are going to explore the possibilities of matriculation agreements with Union County College to see if we can begin to support 2+2 programs where students enrolled in the high school would simultaneously be able to enroll at Union County College. This is an exploration of those for this year. They plan to, at the high school, create a virtual career fair. They'll be setting that up throughout the course of this year, particularly focused on consumer finance, then for implementation next year during the 17-18 school year. And we are going to utilize the National Student Clearinghouse. They have a very strong database. We're going to be using that to look at our student success rates once they leave us and enroll in college, so that we can see what we need to do to support program improvements. We know who gets in, but now we're looking at who stays and how, and the number of years needed to complete their secondary education beyond high school. Lastly, we will be expanding our partnership through Kane University. You heard earlier through the curriculum committee report about our continued participation with Kane and Plainfield on the Mentor Teacher Capacity Grant. And we will also be working with people within the community to expand opportunities for community-based instruction. Some of our teachers are involved with a training series through the New Jersey Department of Ed and the Boggs Center, This training will aid in facilitating the transition for many of our special ed students to adult life by giving them added opportunities in learning about community living, career exploration, and community work sites. So those are the goals that we are presenting for this year to round out the implementation of our 3-year strategic plan.
Any comments or questions?
Goals, great, that's wonderful. The goals are great.
I do want to note that we had many people that participated in formulating these goals. Our administrators came together in the summer time frame, and then we've had continual meetings where we visited them, and then they have gone back and they've shared some of these and gotten input from their staffs as well.
It's very ambitious, and we look forward to hearing about the various initiatives. So thank you very much. It's hard to believe 3 years
Already.
will have passed.
So tonight, I would ask that the board adopt the 2016-17 district strategic plan goals as presented.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And then I would like the board to approve the personnel report as discussed in exec this evening. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Roll call.
Oh,
Dr. Kulikowski?
yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Shermer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to the business functions. Mrs. Saradaki?
I'd like to group these if I could.
Sure. I just have one question. Do we have to do a roll call on the mentoring plan or not?
No.
Okay.
1 BUS, I'm asking for the board's approval of the staff training on the superintendent's report dated October 20th, 2016. Yes, yes. And there was an addendum, additional staff training. 2 BUS, I'm asking for the board's acknowledgement of receipt of the disbursement listings for various bank accounts for the month of September 2016. 3 BUS, I'm asking for the board's acknowledgement of the district security and fire drill reports for the month of September 2016. 4 BUS, I'm asking for the board to acknowledge receipt of the 2017-2018 tentative budget calendar, and also that they agree to change the March 23rd board meeting date to March 14th to meet the county budget deadline of March 20th. 5 BUS, I'm asking for the board's approval of the budget assumptions and guidelines for 2017-2018. 6 BUS, I'm asking for the board's acknowledging the grant award to Park Middle School for the 2016-17 bullying prevention program, and the grant amount is $2,055. 7 BUS, I'm asking for the board's approval for the district to dispose of excess television sets and overhead projectors to a recycling company at a cost of approximately $1,200. 8 BUS, I'm asking for the approval of stage lighting for the high school, the total cost being $10,929.38. 9 BUS, I'm asking for the board to approve the 2016, is it 2018 or 2017 mentoring plan?
Mentoring plan.
It says 17.
2016-17?
That's what it says on
Okay.
it.
Because my agenda says 18. District mentoring plan as presented and the projected cost of $4,000. I'm asking, 10 BUS, I'm asking for the board to authorize submission of the 2016-2018 comprehensive maintenance plan and M1 reports to the executive county superintendent. 11 BUS,
I'm asking for board approval of vendor-provided related services to 3 different providers. It's Preferred Health Home Health Care, Summit Speech School, and Morris Union Jointure for the 2016-17 school year, and to Ivy Rehab for and a cost that occurred during the extended school year. 12 BUS, I'm asking for the board to acknowledge receipt of the board secretary report, treasurer of school funds reports, and budget adjustments for the month of September 2016. 13 BUS, I'm asking for the board's approval of the bill list for the period of September 24th through October 14th, 2016, in the amount of $2,164,746.40. And 14 BUS, the state has decided to give the non-public security aid again this year, and so I'm asking for the board's approval to coordinate that through Union County Ed Services. The cost, they charge us 12% handling fee to meet with the non-publics and to coordinate their purchases.
So moved.
Second.
Comments and questions on anything? Okay, so that the public knows, we did have a chance to ask questions last week at our agenda-setting meeting. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Saradaki. So that brings us to board policies.
I would like to move that the board approve second and final reading for adoption of the following policies. Policy 5339, screening for dyslexia. 5465, early graduation. 5615, suspected gang activity. 5756, transgender students. 8540, school nutrition programs. 8820, opening exercises/ceremonies, and 8540, free and reduced rate meals. Actually, that one we're abolishing because it's stuff that's repeated. We've discussed this already.
Yeah, the nutrition program policy subsumes that one, and the regs were no longer needed.
Okay, so we have a motion? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so those policies pass. That brings us to new board business. Other board business? Request to attend workshops, workshop reports.
I'd like to attend, there's a special education one coming up in November. I'd like to attend that.
Okay, great.
New Jersey school boards.
Yeah, good.
Anyone else? I know we have many board members going to a number of workshops next week for the New Jersey school boards workshop meeting. Okay, approval of the minutes. We have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any abstentions? I have to abstain from the 20th.
27th.
From the 27th.
27th for me as well.
Okay. That's me.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So in accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood Policy 0164, 0165, if anyone would like to come, anyone from the public, come to the microphone, please state your name and the town in which you reside.
My name is Gianni Gary Fallows, and I'm here due to an assignment for one of my classes at Rutgers, New Brunswick.
Can you tell us what town you're?
Oh, Scotch Plains.
Okay,
New
thank
Jersey,
you.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask if I could get a copy of the policy regarding the suspected gang activity.
Sure.
Actually, I think the policy may be posted in the back there, and since this is our meeting and nobody else is here to see it, you're free to have that one.
Was that it?
Okay.
Good luck
Mrs.
with your
Olivera
studies.
will help get you connected to the right one. You're welcome.
Okay, seeing no one else, is there anything for the good of the order? Okay, we do. Huh? Yeah, we do want to mention that Candidates Night is coming up on Monday. This is a rescheduled date, Monday at 7:30 here for Candidates Night, and we thank the PTA for sponsoring Candidates Night every year, including this year. So, seeing nothing else, can I have a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, John.